Ron and Brian podcast. Get ready to fill your ears with the latest news, politics, current events, and whatever else we feel like talking about this week. And now, your hosts, Ron and Brian.
And here we are. It is officially the holiday season. It is officially Christmas season. Brian, let me be one of the first to wish you Merry Christmas as we sit here just a few weeks away from the big day. How are you? How are you this week? So you're having a little cup of coffee, a little hot toddy for this evening?
Ice water. I came across one of those TikToks where it says, when you're drinking alcoholic beverages, just hold it close and pretend you're blowing on it. Everybody thinks you're drinking tea, but that's not true. Drinking cold water.
All right.
Fuck you, hot beverages. Fuck you. How are we doing, Ron?
Listen, I'm excited. It's December 1st. It is the final month of 2024. We will be discussing Death Pool. Our current year Death Pool will be coming to an end very shortly, and we are going to start taking applications for next year's Death Pool in the coming weeks. So we will have news about that later on. But in the meantime, Brian, you know how we get this week started. We get it started.
Drink of the week.
Na zdrowie.
Salud.
Drink of the week.
Pleasure.
Pause.
Drink of the week. Drink of the week. Drink of the week. Drink of the
Brian, week. What are you drinking this week?
Listen, Ron, one lesson I've learned from you is go local, support local businesses, especially during this holiday season. It's time for us to shun the large corporate beverage makers, smash, big beer, and embrace local breweries. It's something you've taught me for, most of, the time I've known you. I've tried to offer you Budweisers. You say no. I said, please have a Michelob. You smack that out of my hand. You say, we go local. So this time I look all the way to Orange, New Jersey, about 40 minutes from my home here in the Ivory Tower. This is from Four City Brewing Company. This can you're looking at is their Eagle Rocktoberfest. They reached out to me about a week and a half ago and said, listen, we know that it's no longer October, but we saw you drinking Oktoberfest beers, and we want you to try out ours. So they sent me a 4-pack of them. Here is what this look at that beautiful hue. This is going to keep me warm tonight. This is Four Cities Rocktoberfest. It's a Marzen seasonal beer made with the best Heidelberg, Munich, and caramel malts, as well as Tettnang hops, named for another West Orange, New Jersey landmark. This Eagle Rocktoberfest beer has a sweet malty breadiness and flavor, followed by a clean and refreshing finish. Coming in at 5.8, I said, ABV. Wow. This is going right in my belly, Ron.
Take a sip. We all want to know how it is.
I'm going to tell you, they nailed it on the malty, bready flavor with the clean, refreshing finish. There is no bitter aftertaste to this. Four City Beer Brewing Eagle Rocktoberfest. This gets 2 booms. Boom for me.
All right, very nice.
I will be drinking this. Ron, what are you bringing to the table this week?
So, Brian, I was over at my supermarket today. They have the great Pick 6 cooler. So I was like, let's pick up some things. Let's roll the dice, see what we can bring. Sometimes the stuff's good. Sometimes it's disgusting. I'm going severely out of my comfort zone today, Brian, with Hard Mountain Dew Baja Blast. Now, it says 0 sugar. Like, the sugar is the least of my concerns right now. It's only clocking in at 5% alcohol. It is a malt beverage with natural flavors, artificial sweetener, certified color, and, of course, my favorite, FD&C yellow number 5.
Isn't that carcinogenic? Isn't that yellow number 5?
I believe it is.
Okay.
Brian,
Yes.
you were not prepared for the color of this drink, much like I was not when I poured it into the glass. Look.
I have a question. Why do you do this to yourself? Why do you do this to yourself?
I do it for the people, Brian, because sometimes someone might be out there and say, you know what, maybe this Mountain Dew, this hard Mountain Dew, is worth a shot.
Okay.
Let's do the do, Brian.
Now I don't want to see some wimpy sip. That's a wimpy sip. We need a gulp. If you are
oh my God, it's cough syrup. Oh, it's horrible. Oh,
people, if you are not watching the YouTube, if you are not watching this on Facebook or Twitch, you are missing out on the non-verbal visual cues. Ron's face having swallowed that first drop of this hard Mountain Dew. It's priceless. It's exactly why we transferred about 18 years ago to video. We liked the way the internet was going. We were one of the forefathers of video streaming content right after Hustler did. Vivid was first, then it was Hustler, then the Ron and Brian podcast. Ron, walk me through this.
All right, hold on. Let me get all the flavors going again.
Okay, he's taking another sip, people. This is important. You can't miss this shit. This is good.
So initially, the initial flavor, not bad. It does taste like a Baja Blast. You get the sweetness, but then the artificial sweetener kicks in. And I'm not a fan of artificial sweeteners. And then the malt flavor kicks in at the end. So really just a very medicinal taste to it. But as is the rule with Drink of the Week, I will need to finish this.
Oh, well, you have to. I mean, that is the rule. Question for you. Can you walk through some of the uninitiated? What is the flavor of a Baja Blast? I am not a Mountain Dew, maybe not since I was about 17. I think maybe I had my last Mountain Dew. What does the Baja Blast Mountain Dew taste like? What is that flavor that you're expecting?
It tastes like excitement, Brian. It tastes like catching a wave and riding it down a mountain 100 miles an hour. It tastes like freedom, Brian, is what it tastes like. It's also kind of a, I guess, almost like a tropical flavor to it.
Okay. Does this remind you of does this remind you of your trips to Haiti every summer back in the early 90s when you were helping Jimmy Carter's Habitat for Humanity?
It does feel like that. I remember our guide, his nickname was Baja Blast. Still not 100% sure why that is. He also tasted quite tropical, though, from what I remember.
Oh, really? Cannibalism jokes so early in December. How dare you?
In the meantime, let's move it on to Beef of the Week.
Ron and Brian's Beef of the Week.
Brian, what's bothered you this week?
Oh, this has been bothering me since Thursday early evening. I'm going to complain for a moment, if you don't mind. And I know right off the bat, Janelle is going to make a very good point. And she's going to say, what on earth were you doing in Manhattan on Thanksgiving? And I'm going to be like, all right.
A lot of us are asking that question.
Okay. So my complaint is my cab driver that I employed, I guess, temporarily employed to drive me from Bryant Park to the ferry terminal on the west side of Manhattan.
Okay.
Right,
how far for the uninitiated? How many miles would that be? Okay,
so the story is this. I will first tell you, and then let me first explain why I went in. For Thanksgiving, and we'll discuss our Thanksgivings after, in a few, but put a pin in Thanksgiving. My nieces were down here for Thanksgiving. Lovely ladies blossoming into women. It's such an amazing experience watching them become the adults that they have become. And one thing where you see that the adult maturity hasn't kicked in yet is because at 10 o'clock in the morning, they were like,
Sure.
let's go into the city today. And I was like, I'm just like, why? So it's raining. It's cold, but it's not brutal cold. But we're like, all right, let's go. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to take you guys in. Ladies in, excuse me. So we walked. So we walked down to the ferry, take the ferry in, take the bus across town, and now we are at Bryant Park, which is basically 42nd Street down to 40th Street between 6th Avenue and 5th Avenue. It's a winter wonderland, Ron.
Sure.
We walk through the park, not really. I would say we make it through about half the park. It's damp. It's somewhat drizzling. Nobody's having too great of a time. Finally, we're like, you know what? Let's get out of here. It is at this point that we realize that the police have closed off any type of vehicle traffic in the vicinity of Bryant Park. We're like, hey, this is great. This is great. We can just walk in the street. Ladies are taking pictures. It's wonderful. So I'm like, you know what? Let's walk over to Times Square where it looks like there's car traffic. We'll get a cab there. So we walk from 6th Avenue over to 7th Avenue. I am now standing on the corner of 42nd Street and 7th Avenue. I am looking to go to 40th Street and 12th Avenue.
Okay.
Two streets, north-south, 5 avenues. Doable. This should be maybe a 10-minute ride. Ron, if I told you I was in that cab for 50 minutes before I walked out, and this is the beef. What I did not realize when I said, let's take a cab, is the fact that the Macy's Day Parade was breaking down at the time we decided to head back. So we didn't go to the parade. The parade had already ended, but there was very little cross traffic. It looked as if 6th Avenue was completely closed off, but it also from 7th Avenue and Broadway, you couldn't even walk across those streets because they were just breaking down the floats. So we got into a cab, unfortunately, and this was my mistake. I got into a cab that was heading east. It was facing east. I was just I was like, I'll just do a quick loop around the block and then start heading west. I get in the cab at 7th Avenue. The guy goes to 6th Avenue. The guy goes to 5th Avenue. At this point, and my nieces have already picked up on the fact that I have a slight little explosive anger problem when things don't go my way. They've already picked up on it. So I'm trying to be on my best behavior, my best behavior. So at this point, I say to the guy, hey, are we still heading east or do you want to start, turning around and start heading west again? And he said to me, I can't make a right at this light. At which point I just said, well, maybe you want to make a left. If you can't go south, at least go north. But you got to turn around somehow.
You got to get going the opposite direction.
Ron, I stopped paying attention for a moment because I was just seeing red. And when my vision came back to me, I saw the lights of Grand Central Station, which I know is over by Lexington Avenue. At this point, I'm trying to behave. I'm trying to be on my best behavior because I've got my girls next to me, and I don't want to be nervous any more than I've already made them because they've already said to me that I'm a mean person sometimes in public. At 3rd Avenue, I said at 3rd Avenue, keep in mind, I got going to 12th. We are now at 3rd. At this point, I've already been in the cab for over 25 minutes. People my nieces have said to me, hey, do you want to walk? And I was like, no, I don't want to walk. I'm so at this point. You don't want to walk. Your feet are going to be killing you by the time we get to 12. So I'm like, buddy, are we turning around? He's like, yeah, we're going to turn around on 3rd. So he turns around on 3rd, immediately makes the loop, starts going west on Times Square. But because of the road closures, Everybody and their best friend is on 42nd Street heading west, going to the Lincoln Tunnel. We inched. Finally, we got to 42nd Street and 9th Avenue.
So really like 2 blocks away from where you started.
My niece holds up her phone because she's navigating at this point, because she knows exactly which buttons to push inside of my brain to just make it boil, make it percolate, just sizzle some like turkey bacon. She's just like, it's going to take us 26 minutes, from now. It's going to take us 26 minutes to go 4 blocks. I just was like, fuck it, we're out of here. So we left, walked the balance, and I was so full of rage. And, when we got back, I was telling the story to Mrs. Bryan, to my sister, and they were like, well, why didn't you say something to the cab driver? I was like, oh, I did. I don't think that he was necessarily driving out of the way to drive up the fare. I think he just didn't understand what the road closures and the impact they were having on him. So he just kept going until he felt comfortable with what he knew. And because I didn't know how to communicate in a non-explosive way in that moment due to my rage issues, I just kept it to myself, made little comments about like, hey, buddy, you want to make a left? Or buddy, are we turning around? And this man was not my buddy, because I think the cab came out to about $45.
I was gonna ask what the cost of this 50-minute tour was.
I think the progress that we made, despite our little expenditure of time and effort, we moved about 4 blocks, and it cost me about $45.
Here's my question for you. Mm-hmm. Did you tip him?
No. I was so mad at him that I could not in my mind justify that he deserved anything more than what the deal he had with the medallion owner was.
And I was so angry. Fair.
I was so angry. I was just like, first off, he didn't deserve a tip. He didn't, because to me, a tip, here we go. Janelle, right off the bat, Brian has no one to blame but himself. She's right. She's absolutely correct. Like, I understand sometimes when I'm responsible, I look at myself first. I look at the man in the mirror and I say, hee hee. But like, it is literally, it was just what a waste of time. What a waste of effort. What an unnecessary level of rage. That is my beef of the week, was my cab ride on Thursday. Ron, what's bothering you this week?
But to be fair, your beef was caused by your poor judgment of going into Manhattan on Thanksgiving.
Listen, if being a good uncle, trying to make my nieces happy, if that makes me the bad guy in this story, Ron, then you know what? So be it. By the way, also, we've moved on. We're no longer talking about my beef. We've talked about, we're on to you. By the way, speaking of non-beefs, whatever the opposite of a beef is, that hat looks smashing on you.
Why, thank you.
I am loving that hat. Good choice.
Thank you. From our good friends at Boston Scally Company. They really do have a plethora of very nice of hats. They just put out their holiday collection. I might buy the Kringle. I'm not sure yet.
I did get my email from their marketing department that my hat is on its way, but it's nice to know, I guess they're closer to Philly, that their promotional hat went to you first. Congratulations, Ron.
Thank you. Thank you.
Listen, it's nice to know that Boston Scally supports up and coming artists like you and myself.
That's right. So my beef, Brian, and I guess this is the second week in a row that my house is my beef. But my house we've gotten to that point where the house just eats objects and we just can't find them ever again. So like the other day, my beautiful wife, my lovely bride, she wears glasses now like I do. Put them down somewhere in the house. Can't find them. Literally, we have scoured the house up and down. Can't find them. So, had to take a trip over to Warby Parker, get the eye exam, get glasses ordered. We start decorating for Christmas because we say Christmas around here, Brian. We don't say holidays. We decorate for Christmas. Trying to find where's the Wi-Fi plugs? Don't know. Where's the outdoor Wi-Fi plugs? Disappeared. Meanwhile, I'm finding stuff that we couldn't find 3 months ago when we were deliberately looking for it. But it's just we've hit this point in the house where it's just a vortex of just crap. And so I had to I reordered the same outdoor Wi-Fi plugs that I ordered from Amazon 3 years ago because I couldn't find them. The wife wanted some trees outside, want to set the lights up on a timer with the Wi-Fi. Literally went on Amazon. I was like, oh, all right, let me see what they have. And it just, it gives you, oh, you bought these in September of 2021. Yeah, thanks, fucker. Thanks a lot. And I'm going to buy them again. And I'm going to buy them one more time.
That little notice on Amazon, which I know they're trying to help you with, hey, you've bought this before. So right. If this was an item that you were looking for that you liked, but I lost my battery pack and, hey, you bought this battery pack before. I'm like, oh, this is the one I just lost. Yeah. That is so frustrating. And the worst part is, at least in my experiences, is that about maybe 2 weeks after you get the replacement is when you find the original.
Oh yeah.
And it's too late to return it.
Yeah, because we have to clean out the basement of this house, and I'm thoroughly convinced that I'm surprised we haven't found her glasses yet since we just ordered her glasses the other day. I'm still surprised they just didn't automatically pop up.
You're gonna get them after you get their new ones.
Probably.
Question.
Yes.
Are you and Mrs. Ron, and I think we've touched upon this maybe in episode 112. Matt, if you are watching, if you can compare, are you guys returners? Because I'm not a returner whatsoever, and I might be in a relationship with someone who practices the retail art of purchasing to see. I'm going to see if I like it. I'm going to see what the material feels like. I'm going to see what this item looks like in that space. And if it doesn't work, I'm just going to return it. I'm just going to go back to the store and return it.
Yeah, my and my wife is like that with clothing. Not so much with she'll return other stuff too, but it's primarily clothing.
True.
In fact, I am thoroughly convinced that she does not buy stuff online because she wants it. I think she buys it now to give us an excuse to have to drive to King of Prussia Mall to return it. Because it'll be she's like, oh, I have to go to Tara at King of Prussia Mall. Well, why can't you ship it back? Well, I ordered it off of this site, so you got to bring it direct to the store. I have often said to her, I'm like, you are the reason. You probably add 20% to all retail costs because of the way you conduct business. Hands down. I feel your pain.
Yes, and the thing is this, to me, and I don't know where I would love to have absolutely nothing to talk about with my therapist. I would love to be so good in life, so good in where I'm at emotionally, that I could spend 45 minutes trying to process and get to the root cause of the embarrassment I feel returning an object in store.
Right.
I don't know where it comes from. I would love to, whatever kind of hypnosis, whatever the doctor in the Penguin was giving, Mrs. Mama Oz with the red light that was just whatever it was. I would love to go back to the deep recesses of my childhood to re-experience what trauma created my absolute refusal to return an item in store. The number of times that I've just been well, I bought it, so I'm just going to have to live with it. It's not what I like. Throw it out. And it's just as opposed to going in store to return it, the waiting online or going to the customer service line where everybody's returning something, and you just feel like a failure. You feel like you are somehow begging for your money back. You're like, please, sir, can I have my money back if I give you back this sweater? I feel like somehow in that moment, like I am at like the lowest rung of society, and I need to somehow like justify why I deserve my money back.
See,
Whereas
I don't.
there are
Sure.
other people who are just like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna go back to the store and return it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want this. Here's my receipt. Give me my money back.
Yeah.
Where's that confidence come from? Where's that like? I don't
Oh
get
yeah.
it.
Oh, let me tell you and again, I mean, I love this woman, but I have to tell you this story.
Sure.
We went. This is years ago. We went to Home Goods and we bought like a floor length mirror, and we literally walked it out of the store, took it to the car, had a difficult time trying to fit it in the car, and in turn like cracked the glass. Don't you know, she brought it right back into Home Goods and was like, yeah, we just carried this out. We didn't really do anything, but it just cracked. I'd like to return this. And they took it back.
Really? Wow. See that I
And they
don't.
took
I see
See,
my
I don't mind
flip.
clothing I can return, but like if I open packaging and I have to bring it back,
Yes.
oh, I'll break into a cold sweat. I'd be like, oh my God, I feel so bad. Which I don't know why I feel that way, because I worked retail for a number of years when
Sure.
I was in college, and the shit that people would bring back, especially like because I worked at Sears, they had like
Sure.
lifetime warranties on some of this stuff. Like, oh, here's a handful of sockets from 1937 that just cracked. I need to return these. The gall of some
Okay,
people.
and yet I will also say, and this is the level of how much I care about this woman, and how much, and also not only the fact of how much I currently care, but how much during the dating phase I was trying to impress her, and also make up for my own fuck ups. Is that she had a set of plastic bowls that each that like fit into each other, kind of like Russian dolls, but each bowl had its own colander that was like matching perfectly sized to it. The large bowl I put in her dishwasher with some kind of like metal sharp edge underneath it. And during the course of the dishwasher cycle, whatever just cut the shit out of the inside of
Sure.
that bowl. She opened up that dish. Yep, nesting bowls. Thank you, JoJo. JoJo knows exactly what that's what it is. It's like a classy lady knows classy ladies. So she's taking out the dish. She's like, "Oh my God, what happened to this bowl? Oh, it's all scratched up." I'm like, "Oh my God, she's gonna break up with me. Oh, this is over." I found out, and keep in mind, I might have had a couple glasses of wine at this moment. I insisted on ordering another set of those nesting bowls from Amazon. I swapped out the bowl that got cut up with the new bowl that came in the order, took it to Whole Foods the next morning, and returned that fucking box there, acting as if I had done nothing wrong. That is the level. That's the level of love that I have for that woman right there. Is the fact that I was okay with that level of returning stuff, and I did it with just total indignation. Absolutely was, like walked in there so confident, and yet if I were to buy a pair of like 36, 34 Levi's and it's a little snug in the seat, oh, I'm wearing those jeans.
Yeah.
They're sitting in the drawer. They're collecting dust in the closet. I am not returning that shit.
Billy, with the great throwback question, did you return the undersized money shirts?
No.
We kept those.
I didn't. Because why? Because I ordered youth shirts.
It was our fault. We bought kids shirts.
That shit was my fault.
Yes, Billy, Brian's only okay with returning things when it's scamming the retailer. Hey, you know what? Screw the man.
Sure. And I deserve that one.
Brian, this is apparently a thing. You put things in the dishwasher that you shouldn't. That's what JoJo says.
I do have certain water bottles that are not dishwasher safe, and I still put them in the dishwasher.
All right.
What am I going
to
do?
Anyway, we want.
I really hope you find those glasses.
I And again, love my wife, but she is someone who'd be like, I can't find this, and it will literally be like right in front of her. But I have scoured all 4 floors of the domicile here, and just cannot find them.
Did you look underneath the couch?
Moved couches, moved bookcases. I mean, they have to have fallen down somewhere, like into a crack crevice. I couldn't even tell you.
Billy has a good question in the comments. He's asking if you checked your rectum.
I did not. Rectum.
Well,
Nearly
you
killed
may
him.
want to. Oh.
Hey-o.
So, okay,
All right.
so we talked about it earlier. Ron, tell me about your Thanksgiving. We're recording this the first Sunday of December, which is always a special. It's a special show because we have just had a 4-day weekend, which America, we look forward to this every year. I know we've talked about this for the past 22 years that we've been doing this show. Thanksgiving is our favorite holiday, more so than Veterans Day, Flag Day, or Boxing Day. It is our holiday. Ron, how did you spend Thanksgiving this year?
Same as many other years, got to sleep in a little bit. We went up to my in-laws in the I guess around lunchtime, spent some time with my wife's family, and then drove down into I guess more central New Jersey, South Jersey, to spend time with her extended family, and just eat just a lot of really delicious food. 3 different stuffings, I think they had there. Great macaroni and cheese. Sorry, Guy, I left you off the invite. I made my now famous smoked cream cheese for an appetizer, so that was good. I watched some football, got caught up with people. It was laid back, it was casual, it was a good time. Besides feeling the rage of being in a cab in Manhattan, what did you do on Thanksgiving?
Listen, Thanksgiving, it is to me, we're both wearing hoodies. I didn't even realize it. Let's rock this shit late in an old school way. I rock on till the break of dawn, mowing down MCs like I'm mowing a lawn. I go on like nothing can save me. Sorry. So Thanksgiving, listen, my sister came down, she brought her daughters, and right off the bat, it's a home when you wake up in the morning. Like there's something about being surrounded by family. Ooh, this is warm. Back of my neck is starting to sweat. It is there is something about waking up on Thanksgiving Day, being surrounded by family, especially family that you do not see particularly often. Sure. As we get older, and we start to grow, move in different areas, you see each other less, and it doesn't mean you love each other less. But to wake up on Thanksgiving morning, you've got a refrigerator full of food, snacks, entrees, appetizers, and you're wearing your PJs, your sweatpants, whatnot. You put the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade on. And it's just beautiful. Mrs. Bryan decided this year, and I give her a lot of credit for it, put the tree up early this year. So this way, while the kids were here, you're surrounded by this beautiful tree in the middle of the living room. So beautiful. What did we do? We woke up. We relaxed in the morning. We had some breakfast. It was beautiful. I brought home some bagels, some cream cheese. Then the girls were like, listen, we don't want to spend the whole day in the house. Let's go into the city. Don't care what's open. Let's walk around. So we went into the city. I had my debacle, came back here, got back to West New York, and I just was like, I need a drink. Poured myself a tall Macallan. I didn't have any smoked cream cheese, and goddamn do I wish I did. People, I wish Ron would share his smoked cream cheese recipe, but he said that is a long time family secret, and his mother passed that down. She said it was 4 generations of Bailey's that got to the point. So then, what did we do? We cooked our turkey. I brined it the night before. I
Oh,
don't know. Do you
nice.
brine the turkey or no?
I haven't in the past. I know we had brine turkey this Thanksgiving. Definitely makes a difference in the moisture.
So this year I brined it. I'm going to tell you something. My relationship almost came to an end during the process of figuring out how to brine it. We don't have a container large enough to hold an 18. Now you're going to say, Brian, I don't know. Do you really need an 18-pound turkey? Oh, I bought an 18-pound turkey. I don't know that it warranted an 18-pound turkey with the
I mean,
people that
listen,
were at the table.
my mother would buy a 28-pound turkey for 6 of us. So I think 18
Okay.
is in the realm of possibility.
God bless your mom. We miss her. We love her. I love the fact that she would go out and buy a 28-pound turkey.
Oh, and then she'd load it with stuffing. Like that thing
Sure.
was an easy 40 pounds of lifting in and out of the oven. Oh,
I
it was
love it.
fantastic.
So I brined this thing, and then and the thing is this, and this is where I realized that I have found the right life partner, because she will indulge my idiosyncrasies without shutting them down absolutely. So she sits there and sees the size turkey I bought. I got 18-pound turkey, and she's just like, so how do you brine it? And I'm like, well, I bought a brining kit from Whole Foods. Comes with a sealable Ziploc bag. It comes with the a bag with the spice bag. You put in the water, and you put the turkey in. You seal shut, and then you let it soak. The problem is we don't have anything that can hold the bag of with the turkey in it.
Sure.
And nobody wants to just put a Ziploc bag with the turkey in it and a gallon of water. Keep in mind, it was a gallon of water you're supposed to brine it in to just sit there. So she's sitting there. God bless this woman. She's like running around the house trying to find something that can possibly hold the turkey. Hey, God bless her. She found something. She found some like expandable plastic tub that I think at one point I soaked my toes in when I was having like an ingrown toenail, and I soaked my toes. It's been washed multiple times, and the turkey it was in a bag.
It's in a bag. You're fine.
That thing went in the refrigerator. We brined it overnight. God damn, was that it was so good. Had that so many different sides. Bacon wrapped scallops as an appetizer.
I saw the photo you posted of your table setup. It definitely looked like there was a ton of food there.
And you know what I love? And this is where you can chuckle on this. I don't know if you can. But what I like to do is I like to start off right as we're about to like take that first bite, is to hold up my glass and say, well, I'd like to go around the table and just share exactly what we are all most grateful for. If I can go first, and
you're timing this. You're trying to time this literally as people are bringing that first fork fill up.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think I wait for one of my nieces to already have one bite in there. And I'm like, I'm most grateful for family and everybody. And I just see how far can I talk until I've lost the entire table. Because that's the kind of shit that I do. And it was awesome. And we ate did we eat good. To me, Thanksgiving is a combination Christmas and Super Bowl wrapped into one. You've got your family at one point. You've got like this gigantic dining event, like mixed into the other. It is my favorite holiday. It's downhill from here, Ron. The only I will say this: the only thing I have to look forward to is I believe it's February 7th this year when we have Super Bowl number 83. When you and I are going to wager for the championship belt.
For this championship belt right back here.
Yep, you can throw it over your shoulder. I don't want people to forget it. The championship belt will be at stake this upcoming Super Bowl. Who will be the champion of the Ron and Brian podcast. Who will be the 51% owner this
all right.
upcoming
if I have
year?
to grab the belt.
You know, Ron, take it out for people.
It's appropriate. I'm wearing my
Roddy
Roddy
Piper. I love that
sweatshirt.
Show the different areas of the belt for people. There's people on YouTube probably watching for the first time, may not be familiar with the podcast championship belt.
I mean, it is just a beautiful belt. There is me, champion. I might grow the mustache back in this winter.
I love the belt. I love it.
And then Brian, your usual.
It's 6 pounds of gold, but it represents so much more. So much more. It represents 51% ownership. Who is going to be the majority owner of the podcast for the next 12 months?
We are 9 weeks away from finding that out, my friend.
I notice you are sweating profusely. Is it the sweatshirt? Is it the Boston Scally cap, or is it that you are crumbling?
I am dry, my friend. I am dry.
It looks like you are crumbling.
I'm a little flushed from the Mountain Dew.
Can I ask, just as an aside, how much of that have you finished? Because I haven't seen you take a sip lately.
That whole glass is done.
Oh.
It gets a little easier as you get about halfway down the glass.
Because then you're just kind of hammered?
Yeah. Let's so we actually have a couple of Thanksgiving related stories in our stories of the week. So why don't we get to those? These are stories that we mark off. We say we have to get to these stories. Brian, you're grabbing yourself another beer. What is your story of the week this week, my friend?
Okay, my story, and it was discussed a little bit in the comments earlier this week. Was the social media buzz talking about, and I think it was JoJo talking about the Butterball factory earlier this week. Social media was aflame.
Crack it open.
Was aflame at the circulation of videos over on social media that took place over at the Butterball factory, where there were employees of that factory that were caught physically abusing turkeys, crushing their heads, throwing them in the air, stomping on them, and then also digitally penetrating female turkeys. It circulated amongst many on social media, causing such a backlash against Butterball that people actually were going to their local grocery stores to return the Butterball turkeys that they had purchased. And just the backlash. I even had, I was questioned. I was grilled, excuse me, Ron. I was grilled by my nieces. Are we eating a Butterball turkey this year? I'm not kidding you. Am I eating a Butterball turkey this year? Because we are not down to eat a Butterball turkey. We don't want to eat a Butterball turkey that has been molested. The allusions in the family group chat were quite entertaining because my sister, God bless the woman, she doesn't really follow much social media. She doesn't know what's going on with social media and the turkeys. But it was the fact of this younger generation absolutely being up in arms over what was going on with Butterball and their turkeys. And then as you got a little bit more comfortable with the subject, if you did your research, you suddenly see that the videos that are being circulated on TikTok, on Instagram, on Facebook, on
Twitch,
Friendster, on
MySpace,
Vine. Anyway, these are from 2006. So they're not even current videos. These are videos that are 18 years old. And nobody is saying that anything that is happening to these turkeys is okay. Nobody is saying that just the very concept that we have factories that are raising animals for the slaughter is morally, ethically okay under any circumstances. But the very fact that your good friends over at PETA are circulating this stuff without acknowledging, hey, the videos that we're sending out as reasons for you not to eat turkey, these are 18 years old and
Right.
have since been addressed. But the message here, people, is before you become up in arms over a social media trend, is do your own research. Research yourself. Don't just listen to what somebody else tells you should believe. But just study your facts.
Although I did see something like this in a porno movie a friend of mine had in high school.
Yes, and it had my face in it.
It did not actually.
Except,
No, you
you're
laughed.
serious? Are you serious?
I'm serious. So it
Oh,
was
no.
set in like a diner / deli type situation, and it's clearly from like the 70s or 80s. This film was, and a woman was complaining about her turkey sandwich being very rude to the man behind the counter. So he's like, "Oh well, let me go ahead and remake that for you, ma'am." And so the camera follows him back into the kitchen, and he's got the entire cooked chicken still on the platter, cuts off some turkey, puts it on her sandwich, and then pulls out his penis and starts to violate the turkey until he finishes on top of her sandwich, and then throws some lettuce, some tomato, some bread, brings it back out to her. And of course, this is the best sandwich I've ever had. Not sure why that video needed to exist, but I just
didn't
wanted
need
to share
to.
that with.
But 80s porn brought it. I'm sorry, people. they tested boundaries. They set up what was okay and what was not okay, what the people wanted, what the people didn't want. Ron, what story are you bringing to the table? And I really hope it's Thanksgiving themed. If we can go this full hour only talking about Thanksgiving, I would love it.
So Thanksgiving, Brian, some people decide to fry their turkeys, some of the ambitious folks. And what is the one thing people say if you're going to be frying a turkey at home?
Oh, go slow and low, and make sure that you don't put too much oil in, and have a very tall pot. So
what's the primary thing?
Don't use a frozen turkey.
Don't use it but don't do it in or near your house.
Give
yourself some distance.
Yeah.
Well, apparently there was a mansion, former mansion in Weston, Connecticut, that apparently burned to the ground after residents tried to fry a turkey inside of their garage. The Weston Volunteer Fire Department responded to a home after getting reports of a garage fire. They found the mansion up in flames. Efforts to contain the fire were derailed because of a structural collapse and dangerous fire conditions. On top of that, crews said a vehicle drove over the water supply line while trying to put out the fire, damaging the line and completely stopping the flow of water for several minutes. No one was injured, but the house is uninhabitable. I've heard estimates it was anywhere from $3 to $4 million, this mansion. And you can see the photo there. What is this thing made out of that a fire in the garage just completely engulfs
wood?
The entire... No, I get that, but you have
it's a wood-based building. There's no...
Right,
It is made out of wood. I mean, it's a log.
How long could it have taken the fire department to get there to where you would end up being engulfed in flames in that amount of time?
Well, I think let's be brutally honest. I would imagine that the fire department, when they heard that a $3 to $5 million mansion was on fire on Thanksgiving Day, decided, let's take our time going over there. Maybe we're going to stop off for some coffee over at Dunkin' Donuts, and we're going to wait for the fresh donuts to come out, because the ones that are sitting there, we'll get to that emergency, but not quite yet. Listen, is there anybody who feels bad for somebody who's burned their $3 to $5 million mansion in Weston, Connecticut, because they don't know how to fry a turkey? I mean, the number of videos we have all watched. I mean, I've masturbated to about half a dozen of them, of watching people who are trying to fry a turkey, and it goes horribly wrong.
Always goes wrong.
Oh, it's so much fun. So much fun. I don't know why people are still trying to do it.
You know what else took place on Thanksgiving, Brian? We had a full slate of football games. That's right.
Ooh.
It was our NFL locks of the week.
Locks.
Locks. Brian,
Yeah.
the magic continues. Great pick on the Minnesota-Arizona game, as well as the Commanders versus Tennessee. You are perfect, undefeated for the season. You don't have a title belt, but you are perfect when it comes to NFL picks. So kudos to you, my friend.
I will get that belt back.
All right.
Listen, being 24-0 is a great thing. However, I feel it is only slightly tarnished by the fact that when I look at you, I also know that you too are 24-0 this season. You saw the Lions laying 10.5 on Thursday against the Chicago Bears, and you said, listen, I love the Detroit Lions, but they are not winning by 10.5. The Lions win 23-20. That gives you another victory. Packers, you saw laying 3.5 over the Dolphins, and you said the Packers all the way. We go green on Thanksgiving. Packers winning 30-17. Ron, how do you do it?
Listen, you, not just on this podcast, not just in life, but in NFL Locks of the Week, you push me to be my best.
I hear you. What do you have for week 14 of this NFL season? Listen, the weeks are trickling down. The pressure is growing on our perfect season. Listen, the Miami Dolphins went 17-0 in 1964. We're looking at that same level of greatness.
Rarefied air we are up in.
The pressure on us is similar to a diamond being created by a charcoal briquette. Briquette? Ron, who do you have in week 14?
And it's not so much this upcoming week. It's not so much me betting for teams as much as betting against teams. The Giants are horrible. I like New Orleans -4 at New York, and Cleveland just stumbling to get through the rest of this season. Pittsburgh with the big win against Cincinnati today. I like Pittsburgh -6 versus Cleveland. Who do you like, Brian?
You know, before we get to my picks, I just want to talk about yours. If there was ever a week to take out a second mortgage, refinance the entire home equity, I love those picks, Ron.
Interest rates are coming down.
Week 14, listen, you are just salivating at the idea of betting against the Giants. If there's one other team in this NFL that I love to bet against, it's the New York Jets. Aaron Rodgers goes up 2 scores against whoever the fuck they were playing this week. I've already forgotten about it. And they still figured out a way to lose the entire game at home. Next week, they do not have that luxury. The Dolphins are laying 6.5 against the Jets, and I am saying that is not enough points. You take those Dolphins. Also, the Las Vegas Raiders, they had some chance of beating the Kansas City Chiefs this week, but the NFL called the Las Vegas hotels, who called the betting gambling world, who called the referees and said, fuck the Raiders, make sure those Chiefs win the game this week. And they did. The Raiders do not have a chance next week against the Buccaneers, who are laying 7.5 against Las Vegas. Those are my 2 locks of the week. The Dolphins, the Buccaneers, and then we can move on and make lots of money together. Boom!
I don't know if you've seen the thing coming through social media, New York teams with the most wins in October and later.
Sure.
Yankees and the Mets both have more wins since October than the Jets and the Giants.
Yes. And yes. Wow, 54 minutes into this show. I feel like this is one of those weeks where we could do 3 hours.
Possibly, very possibly. Let's get to a couple of stories before our time runs out here. We're going to, was this Canada? I'm trying to remember where this was.
Oh, Canada.
This was, hold on here. Yes, it was in Canada, in Montreal. A woman was filmed giving a Nazi salute and spewing anti-Semitic comments at a what was it? It was she was talking about the final solution in Canada. I don't know what she was at. She was she was at an Israel rally. She was taunting counter protesters. And so, as it turns out, she is the owner of 2 kosher cafes at a Jewish hospital. Mai Abduhali was identified as the Java chain Second Cup Coffee, cut ties with her and immediately shut down her 2 locations inside the Jewish General Hospital in Montreal.
So question, what is the logic there? Is it the logic that she is a pro-Jew who is acting anti-Jew in public to get attention, or is the logic that she is a anti-Jew who professionally works for Jews for money?
I'm not quite sure. So again, she was at a pro-Israel rally, but
Right.
she was going up against counter protesters. So I'm assuming people that were supporting Palestine. But again, I don't get the anti-Semitism. Apparently, she was yelling, "Do you know what the final solution is? Do you know what the final solution is?" Referring, of course, to Adolf Hitler's plan to exterminate all Jews. Yeah, very interesting story there.
How would you handle this if you were her bosses?
I mean, I think they did the right thing. I mean, she was technically the boss. She was the owner. She was the franchisee. They pulled her franchise licenses and shut her stores down. It's harsh, but freedom of speech does not come with freedom of repercussions.
Well, I think we all have to accept that there is no real freedom of speech. There are limitations to it. We act like there's freedom of speech, but you can't go into a movie theater and scream fire.
True, you can. You can. I mean, I've seen you do it. It's funny every single time. Don't get me wrong. Speaking of Israel,
that
Brian,
that Baja Blast is going to your brain, my friend.
It is. So apparently there is a ceasefire in Israel that was announced by the Biden administration. Thoughts as to how long this is going to last?
I'm going to say that it's actually going to run fairly quickly, because one of the things that we all need to accept and embrace is just the fact that with the new administration coming into the White House this coming January, Hezbollah has to notice that Trump is going to be very pro-Israel. He may not be pro-Ukraine. He's going to shut down the war in Ukraine. You can already see there were news reports coming out where Zelensky said that he was willing to negotiate to a ceasefire with Russia, willing to cede lost lands to Russia. But we all know that with the incoming administration, Trump is going to send weapons to Israel, is going to, if there was any way that you could argue that Israel had any type of ties with their hands behind their back to just stop waging just a glorious war over Hezbollah. Hezbollah immediately announcing this past week that they were willing to negotiate to a ceasefire. Israel sitting there saying, absolutely, stop fucking with us and we will stop utterly destroying Lebanon. Let's see what goes on from there.
All right. We will keep we'll keep everyone posted. And yes, Allie, good point. Right before we went live, there were reports that Joe Biden pardoned Hunter, which he said he was not going to do. But hey, what good is being president of the United States if you cannot use it for the benefit of yourself and your family members, as we have come to find.
And yet at the same time, Trump did not pardon himself or any family members at the end of his first term.
True.
After
Well, I don't think
January 6th,
they were convicted at that point.
Yeah, but they were pretty close.
You have to have a conviction before you can pardon somebody, and it has to be a
Not
federal.
necessarily. I don't believe that. I believe you can
No?
pardon somebody without
All right.
being found guilty.
You
I mean,
are
Matt-
our
don't you
senior
remember
pardon
Matt Gaetz?
official here.
Don't you remember Matt Gaetz, future almost attorney general, asking if he can be pardoned for his actions on January 6th? He had been found guilty of anything other than
All right.
maybe sending $10,000 to a 17-year-old girl for being my friend.
Good point. Good point.
Ron, is that belt getting heavy on your shoulder?
Never gets heavy. One question for you, Brian.
Sure.
What are you watching?
Ooh, on Netflix. If you like my sense of humor, if you like Ron's sense of humor, I am going to recommend that you watch Bones and All by Anthony Jeselnik. It is his new comedy special. He has not put one out in, I'm going to say, probably about 4 or 5 years. This is a show that he has traveled around the world on of late. I saw it personally in Carnegie Hall, I want to say a little bit less than a year ago. Yeah. I want to say that it was probably about March when I saw him perform this hour. Some of the material is in this. Some it's all new. It's humor. I will describe this, and this is how I think you will know whether this is a show you want to watch or not. Mrs. Bryan rolled her eyes at like the first 10 minutes of it, was just consistent doing this. While I sat there chuckling on my laptop, going like this. That's a good joke. That is a good joke. That was literally the first 10 minutes of it. She dipped. She gave up. She obviously did not want a migraine headache from eye rolling for a solid hour.
Sure.
But I kept it up. Bones and All, Anthony Jeselnik on Netflix. Also, I watched season 2, episode 3 of The Silo on Apple Plus. Consistently enter. I'm going to say this to you. It's a slow build. I don't know what they're building it up to. There is, and it's one of the struggles I have with streaming nowadays. It is the ability to binge watch an entire season very quickly versus the watching one episode per week.
Right.
You know, when it is not a show that has, you know, real high impact and high action and whatnot, you can watch an episode where not a lot happens and walk away feeling unsatisfied, while at the same time forgetting that sometimes this is the best way to witness television. And at the same time, it is just a wonderful concept that you know, the land of the earth is unlivable and humanity has been forced to live in silos. So I just watched episode 3 of season 2. Absolutely loving it. Ron, what are you watching?
So we watched Cold Case, Who Killed John Benet Ramsey. Just a 3-episode docuseries on Netflix. I mean, decent. You know, it was good that they didn't stretch it out too much. You know, I don't know that there was a lot that you learn from this, but you do definitely, you know, think that the biggest issue was with the way the police handled the initial investigation.
The thing to remember, Ron, and this is something that I have to constantly remind myself, is that we were alive during the John Benet death. We were alive during that period of time. There are generations after us that were not and don't know the story. So it is, you know, these shows are not necessarily about, you know, entertaining us and informing us about what happened, but they're also to sit there and inform and educate the younger generations of this tragic loss of a life of a young, blonde white girl, and the fact that the police could not figure out who killed her.
Yeah, and it is crazy to kind of go back and like I forgot that Geraldo Rivera did a mock trial on his show where they convicted Patsy and John Ramsey,
Ooh, I didn't know that.
who they then turned around and sued everybody involved. I know,
Sure.
and that was one interesting thing. So Patsy and John sued a lot of people. The brother, who I'm drawing a blank on the brother's name, a lot of people thought he killed
Harper,
her.
Taylor,
No.
Ricardo. I feel like
It's
Bryce,
like Bryce,
maybe Bryce.
I think he might be there. Yeah.
Bryce could
there
be?
was a show
Matt,
that
look it up. Matt, look it up. Come on.
Burke.
Burke.
There we go.
There we go. Thank you, Sherlock.
There was a show that claimed he killed his sister. So they sued them, got a payoff. Yeah. Perfect point from JoJo here. They completely neglected searching the house. Like the reason John Ramsey ended up finding his daughter is because the cops were like, yeah, if you want to walk around the house and look at it, just go ahead. So yeah, it's a very interesting in that you really I don't think the Ramseys did it. It's a very weird story. The ransom note portion of it makes it very confusing as to why that's there. But yeah, I would recommend it. Started watching a show called The Madness on Netflix. It's a thriller series starring Coleman Domingo. He plays a media pundit who happens upon a dead body in the Poconos, who turns out he gets framed for the murder of a white supremacist. Really good. Like again, it's a slow build. I think we just watched episode 6, but it really, like episode 4, 5, 6, just really picks up and throws you curveballs in episode 6 that you weren't expecting. Highly recommend it. And to your point, the great thing about it, all 8 episodes are available, so you can just binge watch it as much as you want.
Yeah, I came close to putting it on earlier today.
And my wife today put on
my wife
put on the holiday Hallmark Channel's Holiday Touchdown, a Chiefs love story.
Whoa! What is that?
So this is it's a movie done in the tradition of the Hallmark Channel, where a diehard a woman who is the member of a diehard Kansas City Chiefs fan and her family are competing to win the team's Fan of the Year contest. She falls in love with the Chiefs director of fan engagement, Derek, and I was just like,
oh, this sounds terrible.
I mean, it's a wild lineup. Ed Begley Jr. is in this movie. Diedrich Bader, who you recognize him from like the Drew Carey Show, American Housewife, all that. Jenna Bush Hager is in it. It's Donna Kelce plays the manager of a barbecue place in Kansas City. It is hands down god awful. Like when you watch TikToks and you see people make fun of Hallmark movies,
sure.
This is exactly why they make fun of Hallmark movies. So bad, so cheesy, and
that's
cannot
hilarious.
Recommend.
That's hilarious. I love the fact that your wife watched that shit.
And finished season 3 of From, which again frustrating that they only put that out a week at a time, but another great season with a great cliffhanger at the end. So I will be looking forward to season 4.
Very good. You know what I'm looking forward to is snow. Apparently, a lot of people getting in Buffalo and off Lake Erie getting a lot of
30
snow
to 40
this
inches,
week.
apparently.
Ooh, last time I got 30 to 40 inches. I was in college and drinking heavily and blacking out on the reg. However, now it does not happen very often. Most I get is a finger. However, nowadays, people, climate change, it is not the same. We don't get the amount of snow that we used to get. Ron, please hold up that belt one more time. It is a beautiful thing.
It is. You know what I can't wait for, Brian?
What, Ron?
After Dark. which is going to be coming up in about 20 minutes. If you are not subscribed to our Patreon, and that's really who we were the most thankful for this past Thursday was our Patreon subscribers. Thank you for your support. But if you are not a Patreon subscriber, go to ronandbrianpodcast.com, click in the upper right-hand corner and see how you can become a Patreon member and join us for the After Dark, which will be going live in just 20 minutes.
So close. We're
So
almost there, people. We're almost there.
And also,
people,
keep an eye on our social media channels this week, as we will be sharing the link where you can enter the 2025 Ron and Brian Death Pool. As of right now, going into this final month, I am in first place with 121 points. Since I can't qualify to win any of the prizes, technically Andrew H., two-time champion, I believe, is sitting in second place at 96 points. My wife and Bob L. tied for third with 85 points. And you, sir, in a not-so-shabby fourth place, tied with Stephanie J. for 72 points. Friends of the podcast, the Jardis, sitting in fifth with 58 points. It's still anybody's ball game as we go into this last month. Well, except for William Esquire, who has 0 points at this time. It is pretty much everyone's ball game except for Williams.
Yes, you can do it. You've won before, have you?
I have not, actually. This would be my first time winning the whole damn thing. I've placed in the top 3 before, but I've never come in first.
Okay, well, you know what? I'm rooting for you. If nobody else is rooting for you, I will root for you.
So let's how about we do this? How about we wrap up this amazing episode 332 and we get ready for After Dark?
It works for me.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Be well, be safe, be warm, and we will catch you next Sunday night.
Thank you for joining us on the Ron and Brian podcast. We're live each week on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. You can find prior episodes, links to our social media, and everything else Ron and Brian at ronandbrianpodcast.com. See you again next week.